and our Department of Education grant to get more faculty exposed to data science and to get them to incorporate projects using data science in their disciplines, in their respective disciplines. And finally, we are also using it as a tool for broadening participation. And this will be the focus of today's talk. So it is an NSF funded project. So several of you would have heard about University of Chicago's Data Science for Social Good, which has since been implemented at several other universities, including Carnegie Mellon and Georgia Tech, and I think University of Washington, to name a few. And in that fellowship, students look at projects and try to come up with solutions to benefit the society. And one example project they have looked at in the past is they have analyzed the data from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and tried to create an early intervention system where if they want to flag individual officers who are at a higher risk for an adverse event, so that they could preemptively provide extra training to such officers to avoid such adverse events. And I believe they extended it to the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department in the following year. So we were motivated by that approach. And another motivating factor is the persistent underrepresentation of minorities and women in STEM disciplines. So we looked at how we can use social justice to alleviate this problem. And research has shown that minority students are motivated by what is referred to as an equity ethic rather than a big paycheck. So they want to pursue STEM if they can utilize their STEM expertise to address the social injustices. And there was a Northeast Scientific Training Retreat. I think this was back in 2014, where they invited stakeholders from across the academic spectrum, all the way from undergraduate students, all the way up to faculty, and tried to get them to identify ways in which we could improve the participation. And the first of their 8 actionable items out of this retreat was to adapt STEM training to involve a social justice component. And the final motivating factor is we all know that by connecting STEM to real world problems, that will help us retain a diverse STEM student body. So with all of this, we decided to use social justice to get more students involved in STEM. And we are using data science as a vehicle to deliver that. So we incorporated it into our first year seminar course. And as part of the course, students were anyway expected to do a group project on a social justice issue. So they had to identify the issue, describe the issue, and say why that issue was important, and possibly, if possible, provide solutions or recommendations as to how they would go about addressing the issue. So what we did was in a few sections of this course, we incorporated data science into it, and I will talk about that. So prior to our involvement, this is actually verbatim from a student report. So this particular student looked at police brutality issue, and a statement in the report said Black people were 24% of people killed by cops. And the student clearly got this number from some article on the internet or somewhere. And so what we want them to do is we want them to visualize the data themselves and come up with these numbers by analyzing the data they are given. So towards that end, for a identified social justice issue, we provide an overarching research question. And in the case of the fatal shootings by police officers, the question could be, what was the impact of the Black Lives Matter movement? And are other police departments doing anything with the data being collected? How are they addressing it? So this would be an overarching research question. We, of course, don't expect the students to address this question in a first year seminar course, but they have an idea of what they can, how far they can reach with that data. So this is just a snapshot of the data that was downloaded from Washington Post, which is maintaining this data set. So you have the name of the victim, the date the victim was killed, the manner of death, whether the victim was armed or not, the age, gender, race, city, state, etc., whether they showed any signs of mental illness, threat level, etc. So this is the data Washington Post is collecting. And so we clean this data set so that it is manageable by students, because remember, our target audience in this case is first year freshman students, and from not necessarily a STEM major, so they could be any major, because all students in our university are required to take that course. And we provide guiding questions in a differentiated fashion. So the easy questions we expect all students to be able to address. The intermediate questions, probably not this first year seminar course, but if this were incorporated in a project in a higher level course, students in that course should be able to address it. And an example of an easy question would be to create a graph to show the distribution of victims by race, whereas an intermediate question could require them to involve extra data sets that were not provided to them, such as demographics of the state, and see how that impacts the race of the victim. And for the truly advanced students or for an advanced course, the question could be to predict the outcome given the characteristics of a potential victim. So if we could predict the outcome, we could utilize that to provide training, because we can identify the characteristics and say, okay, this set of characteristics is likely to lead to an adverse effect. So therefore, how can we avoid it? So we provide guiding questions in this fashion. And with this data set provided, students in this course who were participating in this were able to create a chart which now shows victims by race. And if you recall, prior to this, in an earlier year, your student had said 24% of the victims were Blacks, and now they can see that they are able to see that firsthand from the data, from the raw data. And one interesting observation that I encountered a couple of semesters ago is when the student generated this graph and they saw that about 46% of the victims were white, his immediate reaction was, no, this cannot be true, the data is false. So then I had to prod him to think about the representation in the general population of the two races. And so I felt this was a good opportunity to get the students to do some critical thinking and also to reach out for additional data sets to make sense of what they are visualizing here. So the challenges in using this as an approach to broaden participation, both instructors and students face challenges. At the instructor level, first, they do need access to these data sets. They need the ability to clean the data sets to the format they need. They also need to have familiarity with the necessary tools and also be able to involve students both from STEM and non-STEM backgrounds. And since we want pretty much faculty from across the university to be able to incorporate data science into their courses, we need a means to alleviate these difficulties for them. And from the student side, they need to have the ability to pick up the programming concepts. Several of the freshmen are not exposed to any programming at that point, and also have some working knowledge of statistics and be able to do some logical and critical thinking. So what we are doing through this project is we identify a social justice issue and we acquire data related to that issue. For the most part, our data set is publicly available. And then we clean the data and transform it, and if needed, either create the data dictionary or update the data dictionary. And also we provide a research question and guiding questions. And by the end of this, we have created a curated data set. And we have done this for several different social justice issues. So now, along with the curated data sets, we have also made tools available. So CodeApp is a tool that is an online tool for data analysis. So we provide a basic demo tutorial so students get familiar with using that tool, and also some sample R code if someone wants to take a deeper dive using R, because there are some limitations with CodeApp. And our future work is to create lesson plans so that it makes it easier even for middle school teachers to incorporate this in their classes. So we have made all of this available in this data site. It's a Google Sites, a DSSJ for Data Science for Social Justice. So if I go into the projects, so we have data provided for all of these projects. A couple of them, the child abuse data, I cannot make it publicly available because I do need students in dealing with that project to sign a confidential agreement. So they can contact me to get the data. And this one, cost of college education, we are still working on. But for instance, if we look at the fatal police shootings data, the data is made available through Figshare. And so you can see there are two data sets. So the first one is spanning the years 2015 to 2017, and the second one spans the year 2018 to 2019. So we took the data and split it into sub data sets because this also encourages group work. The different students in a team can focus on the different parts of the data, and then they can get together and see, put their results together to get a bigger, fuller picture of the underlying data. So we also have the code book. In some cases, it may be very minimal, just saying what the variables are. And in this example, the variables are self-explanatory, so we didn't have to give any detailed explanation. But we do have the link where the data was downloaded from and the date the data was downloaded. And we provide the list of guiding questions. This is just to help the students get started so that they have a kind of a path laid out for them. And this is one of the data sets. So you can see the name, date, there's some, it seems to have, I think it added an extra column here. So it's shifted by one, but there is name, date, age, gender, state, etc. So we have access to that data. And if you look at the tutorials page, we do have, for people who are totally new to data science, we have collected a few introductory videos that they can watch to gain an understanding of data science and the issues with big data. And we have a CodeApp tutorial that gives us a YouTube demo video along, and it allows the student to work along with a sample data set. And additionally, with R, if someone wants to do a deeper dive with R, we are also providing sample R code. And the idea with the sample R code is to kind of do a cut and paste. So if a student wants to create, say, this kind of a bar chart, for the heart disease data, it was number of patients by chest pain type. Here we will want number of victims by race. So they just need to copy this block of code here. And wherever they have chest pain, they need to change it to race. And so if they change patients to victims by race and race, they will get the graph that we looked at earlier. So we were trying to make it easy for the student to manipulate the R code. So we provided R code for different kinds of graphs, histograms, stacked and grouped bar charts, etc. So that they can decide, okay, I want to represent my data with this kind of a graph, and they can copy paste the code and edit it to just change the variable names that correspond to their data set. So that was the idea in providing the sample R code. But for freshman year, our experience was the sample R code was a little too much because they were new to programming, but CodeApp worked well. The following year, we introduced CodeApp, and that worked well because CodeApp allows them to generate a graph by just dragging and dropping the variables onto it. So far we have curated data sets in the top 8 topics, and we are working on the bottom set of topics. And our goal is to have, by the end of the next academic year, to have about 15 social justice projects with curated data sets, a research question, and guiding questions made available, and also to create a blueprint to make it easy for other universities to copy this. And additionally, with Data Up and our Department of Education grant, my colleague Alade and I, we are getting trained to become trainers through carpentries so that we can conduct the data science workshops on our campus and elsewhere to get more faculty introduced to data science and get them ready to the point where they can incorporate data science projects into their various disciplines, along with the social justice curated data sets that we provide. We are hoping that that will make it easy for instructors to implement it at maybe as just a single project in their course, or even as a project-based course at a freshman level, and even possibly middle school and high school levels. So I will stop here and take questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Uma. This is great. Does anybody have any questions about what they've done, or any questions about what you're doing related to this?
So this is Mark. So the student, they're freshmen. We thought about using Excel to start visualization and basic statistics instead of CODAP or R. Have you tried Excel first?
Yeah, we did discuss Excel, but then with Excel too, for our students, we would have had to do a training for that. So initially when we started, we probably naively thought that if we provide sample R code, it makes it easier and we have a wider array of functionality available through R packages. But after our first round of implementation, we realized that wasn't the case. So we went to CodeApp, which is a lot simpler, even simpler than Excel. So therefore we utilized CodeApp the following year, and we plan to continue using CodeApp for the introductory level.
Okay.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I'm so excited to be able to use those resources that you've provided in some of our classes, so thank you. One thing that we have been trying to do with data science in public affairs, schools of public affairs, is share courses in a consortium model so that we can first maybe co-teach a designed course that another institution has created, and we have one that I taught. I'll put it in the chat. It's just basic data coding in R using public sector examples, sort of an intro to data science type of course. But what was really great about this is a colleague of mine who's now at Arizona State University essentially built this out. I was able to teach it alongside, him being sort of my mentor as I was teaching it. But it was all ready to go. It was, I was just basically putting it into our LMS, and it was just so easy for me to learn and teach at the same time, but have the whole course, built out in 15-week plan or whatever. So this is actually a 7-week plan. So I was wondering if you have, I know that you have the site, the Google sites that you've showed us, but a plan to, this is built out in GitHub, for example, to do something similar.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the lesson plans, we will be working on it this coming year to go with each of the data sets so that it makes it easier for others to incorporate it. Apart from, so they would rather be individual modules, but we can also think of putting together a semester-long course with all of these projects, yes. Thanks for that suggestion. I'll check out your link.
I'd be really interested in having a semester-length course that you develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So question, right now, do you implement them a different one every time you run it, or do you actually implement them all over the course of this course that you said everyone has to take. So you have it in a general education course, and do you rotate it for years, which project you do, or how do you incorporate the different modules?
So it's a general education course. So we offer about 30 sections of that course. So about 2 or 3 sections work with us on this format. So for those 2 or 3 sections, we do make available, for whatever reason, the students want as many choices. So we have made available all of the data sets we've had up to that time, so that the students could have a wider choice to select from. And in fact, several of these topics, barring possibly COVID-19, the topics came from the students. They wanted to look at data sets in those topics. So,
so you surveyed the students to see what topics they were interested in?
Yes.
Initially?
So we had a rough idea based on what they had been doing in the past. But prior to starting, we also surveyed the students, and they were the ones who listed cost of college education, child abuse. They were very particular about child abuse because it took me a while to get that data with all the permissions, etc. So they were particular about some of the data sets because they really wanted to work on that. And one other dimension that we will be adding moving forward, which was a recommendation from our advisory board members, is to also incorporate qualitative data or collect their personal experiences in that subject and to incorporate that in some fashion into this mix. Because the data set we have is just quantitative, which is coming from an outside entity, and the students will have a better buy-in when they are able to share their experiences related to that topic.
And do you have sorry, and other people chime in if you have if you want to do you have discussions about these topics? I mean, if you're going to bring in student experience on kind of these topics, like how is there like a discussion about them, or is it more focused on data?
So that, I mean, we need to think more as to how we would implement that, because it does get sensitive. And so we need to work with other colleagues who have been in this field to see how to collect that qualitative data without violating the students' privacy, as well as without any other legal ramifications.
Great. Any other questions? Adam? Hi.
Thank you so much for the great talk. That was really, really great. And so I do a fair bit of work with middle schools and high schools that I think I'm not sure how to work that in, but yeah, I would love to. Is this on the web anywhere? I know that we'll post your video here.
It's currently on the Google sites. So if you go to the Google sites and say DSSJ, Data Science for Social Justice.
Can you put it in the chat, Uma, real quick?
Yes, I will do that.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thanks.
We'll transfer it to the Etherpad from the chat, so it'll be there too. Yeah, and we should record, these ideas about co-teaching and also about modules for younger age groups too. These are things that, shameless plug, you can put in to do as part of the working group in the volunteer form. I think these would be very valuable. And it sounds like there's interest. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, that was wonderful. I love 100% of this. I think our modules look really similar to how we structured our Python ones.
Yeah, your talk was on the Jupyter Notebook sample code, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was similar. It is similar, but we did it in R. And outside of the Jupyter environment.
Yeah, we have we developed a short introductory Jupyter notebook that seemed to do what I think your pain point of trying to figure out how to, the on-ramp for younger students to get working with this. We may have something that'll help, but yeah, I can't wait to look at this more deeply. This is really cool.
Check out Code App also. That seems very easy. It's just a drag and drop.
That looks like maybe an intro level Tableau. Is that a fair description of it?
I haven't used Tableau, but I would think it is even easier than Tableau.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be really interesting to get your, comparing like how to get students into coding at that very young age of middle school, and then how the drag and drops, what that level is. We're very interested in that best practice, where to the on-ramps, how to on-ramp people into these different types, and whether the drag and drop, and there's a lot of different ways that people on-ramp, and some of them may all work, thinking about that.
I put the Code App link also on the chat.
Great. Yeah, we should transfer that as a tool. That's one I hadn't seen before. Has anyone else used that or used a different type of drag and drop for their students or tried to get them into this area?
Yeah, I've used Code App a lot, and we use it with younger students and high school students a lot. It works in the browser, which is great when schools only have Chromebooks and things like that. It is also built by some of the same people who did Fathom, if you know that software from the statistics education world. And so it's built on kind of a whole bunch of educational principles, actually, about getting students and younger students to interact with technology and statistics.
Nice.
The other thing I'll put in a plug for it is that it has some really cool things to do, like hierarchical type modeling and things like that, actually, in a very visual way with drag and drop, where you can drag kind of larger groups into your data table. And it's pretty cool.
Nice. So anyone else? Thank you, Uma, so much. This has actually been, really interesting. Also, for as we're thinking about other participants in the data up, it may be good to talk about. You're making me think that we might want to talk about what you're doing and how you're using it for faculty development, and maybe even in the group, in the booth, or for the all hands. So I wanted to go around, unless there's someone else who wanted a question, and just get a sense of if, where you are, what you're working on, if you're working on something with education, but also if you think there should be certain topics, we'll see them in the volunteer forum, but if there are particular topics that are of interest to you now that are, whether you want to work on them yourself or not, but that are burning questions for you, or things that are you think can help scale up or help elevate the things you're doing, or just work that you think is critical that should be done in this space. So for one, it's just going around and seeing where you are now. So I have people on my screen, and I'm sure it's mixed up on everyone's, but Monica, you're first on my screen.
Yeah, I've just really enjoyed this group over this past year, because data science at our institution is relatively new. And so I'm inexperienced and just learning a lot about the different programs, different delivery methods, and different ideas on how to bring data science to our campus community. And so I've just learned so much, and I know it's not helpful to say just anything and everything, but that's really where I am, is program assessment and curricular ideas, and how to make data science more accessible to our campus community. And I really appreciated this talk today, in terms of we're trying to do the same thing on our campus. And so I've just gotten a lot of really great ideas today. So thank you for that as well.
Oh, thank you. And remind me where you are again. Where are you, Monica?
I'm at St. Catherine University in St. Paul, Minnesota.
St. Paul. Yeah, no, great. John Beagley, first, it's two Johns. you're next on my screen.
So as I mentioned sort of at the beginning, I'm wrapping up my sabbatical, which was, my PhD is in math. So I mean, I learned Python maybe a couple years ago, just for fun, I guess. Never really had any intention of doing data science, but Carl Schmidt left Valparaiso University and now we have a hole. So luckily my sabbatical came up so I could plug that hole. So my sort of short-term goals this semester were to learn enough about data science so I could teach some courses. Specifically now in the fall, I have to teach computational linear algebra, which is something I did maybe as an undergrad when Maple or MATLAB was new, I guess. So it's a totally different, yeah, so just, I guess what I'm having the most problems with is like writing labs for these things. Like how do I write a lab that would take a student maybe an hour and a half to do, like in class time? Yeah, so, and like how do I explain things to the students so that way they can do that? Because I'm not used to doing that as a, math professor.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, how to make these shorter pieces where you don't have the whole semester for a group project, or you don't have a whole course. You just have a module within a different course. Yeah, that's interesting. I know, Adam, yours is it's like a module within a middle school class, so it's shorter, but doing it for like lab style, and that may be one topic, if somebody is like practical teaching, but in that modular form. Yeah. So, Mark, you made me think Carl Schmidt, he did send me an email. He was saying he wanted to be here today. He had a meeting and he's going to fill out the volunteer form. So I'm sure we will hear what his ideas too. You just mentioned his name and he said to tell everybody hi. So Mark, you're next on my
list. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Moumedine. I'm at the University of the Virgin Islands, St. Thomas. So we offer a minor in data science, and we just propose a certificate in data science for the community. For me, I'm interested in data mining. I've been working with data from NOAA. Since we're in the Caribbean, we are observing and monitoring the coral bleaching. You are aware with a rise of the temperature, so there are some diseases in the water and the coral tend to bleach. So I've been working on the environmental data science for coral bleaching prediction, yes. So the problem also is to decide if we teach the breadth or the depth of data science. Like John said, yes, it's very difficult to decide. So we have two courses, basically. One, I teach the breadth first, and then you have a more advanced. We go in more depth, and we use some projects and data sets we can get from the University of California, Irvine. They have data sets. We use also data set from Kaggle. And we tried also to use a data set from NOAA, since we have buoys in the Caribbean. So we try to do relevant application and project for the student that they can see direct impact in the environment, yeah, in which they live.
Yeah, like that hands-on direct impact is so important, for students.
Yeah, because they can see the buoys and they see the buoys that are collecting, sending data to satellite, and then the process of cleaning this data, so we can show them where this data coming from and what do you do with this data.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So Adam, you're next. And also, as we go around, if there's something about that someone other has talked about, like if you've done a short lab course or something like that at breadth or depth, I mean, we're kind of doing a roundtable, but also, there's a lot of expertise here in teaching in different areas. So
yeah, and a great tool that you can use too is Weka. Weka, I don't know if you have used Weka for students to start. Data science is great also.
Yeah, can you put that in the chat just so people know if you can?
Yeah, the Weka. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adam. Yeah.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I have my fingers in a few different pots, I guess. Middle school level with students, at the high school level with teachers primarily, through the QuarkNet High Energy Physics Outreach Program based at Fermilab in Notre Dame. And so that's really my summer priority is doing teacher workshops. But in a former life, I was a high school teacher as well. So we use Google Colab for almost all of that stuff. That has turned out to be a really convenient platform. Although I'm not wild about being sort of having a monoculture there, right? Of being entirely dependent on that one platform. But that has been a really nice, easily implementable platform for things like for middle school and high school. And then at the university level now, I have our undergraduate physics students in physics 1 and 2 do a little bit of this stuff. So I think what I'm looking at this summer is not only teacher workshops, but thinking that this might be a nice broader impacts little program. So I'm working with some researchers at my own site, but also always looking for folks outside of our institution who are maybe working on a larger proposal and would love to have a pretty easy to implement, outreach or broader impacts activity just to plug in. And it seems so far it's been pretty adaptable because we can just take any sort of group's data, right, whatever the research is, and then now we package that as sort of a K-12 educational module. So anyway, I love hearing about all this stuff. You all are brilliant. Renata, thanks again for coordinating.
Thank you for joining. Wesley, you're next.
Hi, I'm Wes Comfort from the UNC Highway Safety Research Center. Sorry, that's UNC Chapel Hill and Chapel Hill. So yeah, also part of the triangle. So I guess my interest in being in this group is mostly just hearing about different data sets and ways to integrate them. I don't teach that often, but I am helping design a course that we're calling Road Safety Skills in the fall that is through the Department of Planning at UNC, but it's open to anyone. And we're actually partnering with the town of Chapel Hill to help students learn how to collect different data types and then use this in analysis for roadway safety. And so we'll be doing things like going out with, say, noise meters to actually measure noise volumes on different roadways. We'll be looking at crash data, looking at more qualitative participatory research kinds of data. So yeah, just I guess in this group to kind of see what new and interesting things people are doing and see what we can integrate as we keep trying to mentor students on how to think better about road safety.
Nice. Florence?
Oh, thank you. I was just typing in the chat that I had to click off. I have another meeting that I'm going to, but hi. No, I have time to do this. Hi. I was just typing in the chat. I'm all zoomed out. I go from one meeting to another. But hi, I'm Florence Woods. I'm actually an accounting professor at Stillman College in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And we also incorporated data analysis into our business programs. And the dean of our department also is the dean of our math department. So we're trying to make sure we have a clear-cut line between data science and data analysis. And so I am not a data scientist. I am learning more than I thought I'd ever want to learn about it. But analysis is very important in the business world. And of course, all the major CPA firms are looking for graduates who know how to analyze and manipulate data. And so it's very important to my students. And so I'm looking, and I'm glad to be part of this group because I'm glad to be around people who know what they're doing so I can share that with my students.
Yeah, we're all learning together too. So it's the sharing. That's good. Welcome too. And I think you've been a part of our other seed grants now too. more in their
Yes,
course.
I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'm excited to get that started. So I'm excited to meet with you so we can figure out how to get that going.
Nice. So then I have Noel and Hong, and then Farana.
Sure. Good morning. I'm Noel Mazza. I'm with the Office of the Vice Chancellor at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. We have two initiatives most recently. One is to try to understand what is actually being taught across the entire university in data science and data analytics. And we've developed a software package that in fact was just sent up to the US Patent Office last week that we've used to map, if you will, create an eco map of the entire over 40, actually 5,300 courses across the university to dive into those course descriptions and from that produce what looks like a concept map for those that are familiar with that, showing different islands or modules of types of data analytic tools and approaches, etc., that are being taught by every professor in every department across the university. So it's a way of trying to understand, if you look at the university as a maze of opportunity with someone coming in, what is it? What are the permutations that could be available for them to complete their undergraduate or master's with what particular types of techniques? And obviously it identifies overlaps, gaps, also demonstrates the relationship between and among faculty on those topics, et cetera. So that's kind of a one type of activity. The other, most recent, we are working with a state agency in North Carolina to look at the issue of what are called hard to fill positions. These are positions in state government that are paying anywhere between $80,000 and $120,000 per year, where data analytics is the primary skill set in the position description. And in the absence of this particular agency, which has multiple divisions, being unable to fill some of these critical positions, we're looking at how the university could actually conduct some of the data analytics that the incumbent of these positions ordinarily would be conducting in their usual course of their daily work. Also looking at this as a feeder system to go into state government or county or municipal government public service with a skill set in data analytics. And third, how our university can provide various skill badges, certificates, master's programs in data analytics to enhance the analytic capacity of the state workplace-based workforce.
Wow, very interesting. Is that software for faculty? Is it available somewhere? You said it's going to the patent office. So is it available or not?
We have not conducted it on any other campus, but are interested in doing so. And we can certainly demonstrate it in this forum, or if anyone on the call would like to see it and think about it for their university, we'd be happy to do a demo and show you the output. It's incredibly powerful and fascinating because it basically unearths a whole hidden knowledge base of what's going on actually at the university.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Speaker nomination.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Fascinating work. And the workforce component. You know, this group is education and workforce. Yes. And we focus primarily on education this year, but, you know, thinking about, you know, how that connects to workforce and looking at some of that, how you're connecting for even your capstones with companies, your local companies and others. Okay, I think it's Hong for Hannah. I don't know if you have to leave. Is that where you do it for Hannah and then Qrn? And I think that's everybody. And we will see, and we're at 12:01. So, but yeah, we have 3 more and then. So Hong, hi.
Hi. Oh, I guess it's my turn to introduce myself. Sorry, yes. I just joined, so trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. my name, the Hong Qing. The good thing about the Zoom, my name is right there on my screen, I guess. So my first name happened to be the first word of Hong Kong, Hong. My last name Qrn pronounced like a chin, so I tell my student I have a very big chin. So that's how I tell my student remember my name. So I was trained as a biophysicist, but I do a lot of computational biology work. I'm now working on computer science, teach mostly data science. So basically, that's my background, what I'm doing right now. So I do a lot of I currently funded a project. One of them is trying to develop a deep learning method to identify the species based on the herbarium images. That's one project. Another project, I'm trying to develop a new method to predict the lifespan. Currently, I'm also trying to develop so-called multi-view deep learning models and based on the knowledge. So I call it multi-view knowledge-based neural network for multitask phenotypic prediction. Make it very fancy. So
I told them a little bit about your spoke too. Yeah. I told them a little bit about your spoke too, as well, about the education.
Yes, yeah. So I also run a lot of data coding bootcamp. In May, it's in 2 weeks. I'm running a bootcamp with Tuskegee University on R. In another 3 weeks, I'm running a Python coding bootcamp, and mainly for my REU and IEU students. So I run a computational biology REU program, and each year we host 10 students. Because of the pandemic, we're doing it online, so the cost is much low. So we host 15 students this year, and mainly students using various computational projects. And one majority of them now use the machine learning, deep learning to do public health related project. And it's actually quite quite a learning experience for the faculty ourselves, because the pandemic is ongoing. We have the real-time data set, and we do some predicting, and then you look at a few months later, you look at the prediction, you won't know whether it's right or wrong, which is quite in a way, is quite exciting for both the student and the faculty. So,
yeah, no, that's good. And also, that's your question of how to work with like the real-time data. So we'll do quickly for Hannah and Qrn, and then we'll come back to. I think a lot of these are great topics, to explore going forward, thinking about who to nominate for speakers as well. So we'll put that back for you, Chong, as well. It can be a speaker nomination. Okay, go ahead, Farhana, and introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you, Renata. Thank you, everyone. It was a great presentation, Dr. Rumah, and it's a privilege to be here. This is my first time. So it looks like I am on the workforce side of the group. And so I'm the founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization, a social enterprise called Her Will, Women Inspired in Life and Leadership. So what we have done is built a digital platform where we highlight women's successes all over the world. And also on the other side, we also created a hub of resources for women to be economically empowered. So one of our pillars, the biggest pillars we're working on right now, is conducting worldwide datathons. And it was very interesting to see Dr. Uma's program on social justice, because that's pretty much an identical format we're building to solve UN Sustainable Development Goals to contribute. So we have run our pilot program in Asia, and now we're taking it to Europe this year, and then next year in the United States, hopefully with all of your help and in excellent collaboration. So what we do is we have created a cycle where we get the data sets from to solve SDG goals, and then from researchers around the world, and then we get to select these girls from underrepresented schools, and partnering with universities and MOOCs to help us curate programs where we actually filter out the best of the best and then put them in a work study program, and then that we have built with help of an employer consortium that we're slowly building. And they have committed to hiring these women and giving them the business domain knowledge that differentiates a data analyst from a data scientist. So, so by doing all of this, we're bringing balance in the very high demand of data science jobs. So there's over 122,000 job openings around the world at this moment, and an average job on any job site is 45 days long. So trying to fill that gap between the demand, the surplus and shortage and surplus of jobs and women. So we are doing it with curating highly competent, brilliant women around the world, and it's working out very well. I'm very excited about it. Thank you so much. And Dr. Mazza, you just spoke to me, and I would be really excited to be in touch with you and see if we can collaborate.
Yeah, so, and we may be partnering, so,
Yes.
you know, with the South Hub, we're coming to help, you know, so if you're interested in that next year US, when they have it in the US, doing work, we can bring you back. Hopefully you'll come back to the group as well. So Qrn, you want to close us out?
Sure, I'll try to be brief. I'm the Associate Director for the Center of Bioinformatics and Computational Biology at UD, University of Delaware, and I also am the Director for Workforce Development for the Data Science Institute. And I think I had the pleasure of attending the meeting. I'm trying to remember the summer meeting in Atlanta. Was that 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
You and I attended the meeting, and yeah, we have a graduate level program. So I help to administer the academic program for the master's, PhDs, professional science masters, and certificates. One of the things that we continue to develop is a certificate program for the workforce, so that, you know, those that are working professionals in their career can take some classes to gain more knowledge in data science and computational biology. So that's an initiative that we continue to develop and expand. And now we are moving more not just into bioinformatics, but into data science with the courses and what we're doing. And in particular, our latest broadening of our program is through biomedical informatics. And so we are also reapplying for a T32 training grant that is in particular to an initiative that is across campus for many different departments incorporating data science in. And one of the initiatives in particular includes reaching out to underrepresented minorities. So even though the information given today might be for undergrads and our emphasis more in grads, it is a particular, we are continuing to try to develop and expand our platform so that all students, regardless of their background, can find success in entering into a graduate level course. And that in particular is a push that we're doing with trying to offer academic courses that for our underrepresented minorities, so that we're bringing them to the level to find success in our classes. So thank you for your talk.
Surely. And so it sounds like we might need to add some categories to the speaker nomination with workforce and also graduate education. So, if you refresh, those things might be options after today as well, because to bridge out just listening to what everyone's saying. So it was great. We're we're a little after time, but it's always wonderful to hear what people are doing. I think it's very valuable just to get a sense of what is going on at other institutions and other types of agencies too. So we will talk next month back at the same time. And again, I think we are going to update the speaker nominations with some of these topics that are really relevant. Great to see everybody. Have a good Friday, good weekend, end of the semester.